why can't I fix this? I could cry
Yeah.
thinking about it walking into my doctor's office. You're not broken. I just need people to hear you are not broken. You might have some broken circuits in your brain. You might have some pathologic behaviors. You might have done some things you actually do regret and wish you hadn't done. But it doesn't mean you're broken. And if you're hearing this, it means you have another chance today. I've been talking about this most recently. I wanted to be a life coach for 30 years. Before a life coach was a
Really?
thing. Yes.
Oh, before like it was a thing. Like
Like,
you wanted to do the job of it, like that create transitions in people's lives.
and that's how I started. When I was an athletic
Mm.
trainer, I was 22 years old, master's in athletic training. Oh yeah, sorry about this. Just for the if anyone's watching this on video, I have a subconjunctival hemorrhage, so I look like a horror movie. Um,
Yeah, that's brutal.
super,
That's
yeah,
brutal, dude.
super attractive.
Okay.
Um,
All
so
right. It's
there's
okay.
that.
It's a conversation piece. I
So
mean,
feel
it's
free.
all
I know
totally
that's what
great.
it is. My staff is like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt. It just I look
You need to
gruesome."
make up a good story. You're like, well,
I
so there was a
know.
mugging and this
You
old
should see
lady,
the
and
other guy.
I had to step in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good.
So,
It's solid.
but when I was an athletic trainer at 22 years old with a master's degree, that was my first career, and I would sit down. The guidance counselor didn't get any business because I worked in a high school and I would sit down with my kids and I would walk them through this process that I still use
Mm,
today. And I am not
that's
22.
amazing.
And so, but that's, when I look at what I used to do, like you said, I've been coaching my whole life.
Hmm.
I was a triathlon coach for 10 years. I did so many, like you said, the couch to 5K things. You
Hmm.
tell me you have a goal, I will show you a path to get there. And I'm going to 10x your goal, just so you know.
Yes, 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 yes. I totally agreed. Totally agree. It was funny. I had a friend that, thank God he did. He called me out about probably 7 years ago. And I was running my main consulting company, which was very strictly business, 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 business. And then we'll actually formally start the podcast. It's not live, it's recorded, so we can chop it up however we need to.
Yep.
But it was a friend, Mark, that like probably about 7 years ago, he's like, actually, your coach. And I'm like, am not. And I was like, no, I'm this, and this, and this, and this. He goes, I've watched you engage with hundreds of people. You can't help, and this is true. Like sometimes I'm worse for wear because of it, but you cannot help but hear someone the second if they accidentally slip out a goal. I would like this. It doesn't matter if it's writing a book, it doesn't matter what it is. You immediately are pulling out like, cocktail napkins or pieces of paper that you keep in your purse, and you're writing out like, well, if you did this and you broke it down this way, and thank God he said that, because I had such aversion to the concept of coach and
Mm.
what that meant, and all of and that it felt like, and this is where I was absolutely wrong, and I'm curious if you struggle with this. It felt like it minimized all of the frankly formal education and work that I had done up until this point. And I'm curious if that resonates with you too.
100%. Because, I always thought, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of a different, or the coach needs a modifier, right? It needs a success coach
Mhm.
or blah, blah, blah. I don't know, something to
Yes.
prove my worth, of course, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you know what? And it just finally came to the conclusion of like when in my medical practice, I am the coach in my medical practice. I do medical oversight, but
Hmm.
I'm the one writing the prescriptions. That is someone else. I write protocols, I write systems, I build systems. I am
True.
the coach to my patients and my clients because that's my zone of genius. Doctor's zone of excellence. If you've ever
Yes.
read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks,
Yep. Great
doctor's zone
book.
of excellence. Absolutely. And that's where we get trapped, right? Is because
Mm,
that's what we're good at. Zone of
yeah.
genius is where you and I can extract that, where someone just happens to let it slip out. Oh dear, here she goes. Well, crap, she's not going to think I'm ready to go. Okay, and that's why, I have to pull myself back. But it's funny you say that because if you had an Olympic athlete and that Olympic athlete said to you, I don't have a coach, I don't need a coach, you'd be like, what?
Hmm.
Or a professional athlete, professional basketball
Yes.
player, professional hockey player, given the season that we're in. Professional hockey player, the team says, "Oh, we don't need a coach." I'm sorry, you've got six of them. Like
Hmm.
what do you mean you don't need a coach? Only in professional spaces does a coach have this connotation of a second-rate citizen.
Ooh, you are right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because in athleticism, you would be idiotic not to have
Yes.
multiple coaches. But and I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of casting that same kind of shadow skepticism, whatever. And it's like now I have functioned as a coach for years, and I still like will struggle for a second. Then I'm like, oh, that's right, I don't believe that anymore. But I
Yes.
believed the hype of that for so long, and I think a few have ruined it. For This is always the case in any profession, but you're
Right.
absolutely right. Oh, that's so good.
Or the coaches who just train coaches. Because the funny part is, I train physicians
Mm-hmm.
to do coaching businesses. Part
Mm-hmm.
of it now, it's with or without telemedicine, because I think every medical interaction should be backed by coaching. I
Mm-hmm.
think the education piece is what's really needed for people to succeed.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I became one of those, oh, there's only coaches who train coaches. Well, I became one. The reason is because that's how we make an impact.
That's it. It's the train the trainer model. It's
Yeah.
not because same. People are like, oh, well, they're, coach just trains coaches and I'm like, no, that's actually a way to 10x your impact. If you care about impact, that's how you do it. Because
Correct.
in fact, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I created this mantra. I'm big into mantras. And let me rephrase it. I do them in the form of decision filters. And
Okay.
so I will ask myself a question, and it's got this thing, this project, this engagement partnership has to run through a decision filter. One
Mhm.
of my biggest ones a few years ago was, is this thing I'm about to do going to impact the one or the many?
Mm.
And if the
Okay.
answer was the one, I had to pivot because I was doing too much one-on-one. And this might resonate with you. I like people. I like getting into their business and into their head and like, tell me about this. And I personally enjoy that. However, there's just one of me, and
Yeah.
my time on this earth is ticking. And so I had to make this transition of, as much as I enjoy even this conversation, you and I are going to impact each other. But what matters most is that we're going to go out and push it out, and we're
Mhm.
going to impact your audience, my audience, people that maybe wouldn't ordinarily listen to this.
And
It's
you're
going to,
down the road, all of a sudden they're exposed to a new viewpoint.
yes, yes. So that
Absolutely.
decision filter has really helped,
So it's
really helped.
funny. This is the second time I've heard that about the decision filter today. The other person I spoke with did not use that term,
Mm,
but I pay attention once things start to get repeated. And I
yes.
just made a decision to take on, people have been asking me for this for a couple of years, but I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
on one-on-one clients, which
Mm,
again would go technically against that decision filter because
mm-hmm.
I agree. What are you going to do with your one precious life, with your one
Yep.
precious day? And but that one to one, I'm using it the same way I use my medical practice. It is a sandbox to make me better as a coach. And when I learn something from these people, they allow me to create systems to trickle down into my practice,
Yep.
into my physician coaching. So I'm not doing it I'm like, oh, I can get more money from these people. No, that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
I'm taking a very finite number of people
Mm-hmm.
to help push me harder, make me
Mm,
grow.
yeah. Well, and here's it's funny, we end up talking about coaching, but this is a great conversation. So here's where because I still take on one-on-one. I am a sucker for one-on-one. And and I'm a business advisor. And if I was my business advisor, I would tell me to stop taking people on one-on-one
Okay.
because that is not a scalable model. Here's how I make this work though. First, let me just acknowledge that it's not a scalable system. So the business advisor in me like cringes at the fact that it's not a scalable system.
Right?
Here's what I do with it. I so I was working with a business this morning. I got an 8 a.m. Zoom call, did the business. Here's how I then scale it. I hang up or it's Zoom, press a button, and then I grab my phone, flip it around, and I share an insight from that. I protect their anonymity and stuff like that. But hey, I was just working with a manufacturing firm. I was just working with a IT company. It doesn't matter what it is. I make sure to sort of homogenize the lesson.
Hmm.
Well, that's not the best word. Make it generic enough to apply to whoever's going to be listening, but I make sure that whatever insight was shared on that call is then shared with the audience, with the platform. And so that's the way that I kind of spin it in my mind. It's not really spinning, but this is the way I reframe it, that I was like, hey, this is a one-on-one call, but I'm going to bring that insight. And then I do solo podcast. My solo podcasts are based off of my one-on-one
Yeah.
training entirely. So that's the way that I'm like, okay, I still do one-on-ones. And just from a little business insight, I break up my my workload from one-on-one group coaching and then big stage stuff, like whether that's keynotes or books or digital courses. But that's the way I do it. And I will tell you, in case you run up against this, every other business advisor that are at the point that I am at does not do one-on-one anymore. They don't want to do it anymore. And I just want to encourage you that if that fires you up, still do it. Cause they're like, really? You still like meeting with people one-on-one? I'm like, yeah, I do. It's amazing. Like
Yeah.
I care about them. And I love watching their transition. I love them coming back and, oh my God, I'm making more money. Or, the call that I just got off,
And my one-on-one includes medical care. So it's like you have a
what is not to
document
love?
in your pocket, right? And that's why I didn't want to do it because I actually, it's funny they say if you don't love it anymore, don't do it. I got completely disenchanted with my medical practice
Yeah. I want to hear
months
about that.
ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was the way I was doing it. It was the way I was looking at it. I was so frustrated. I was
Mm,
pounding my head against the wall because our systems weren't working.
mm-hmm.
And it showed. And it showed. And it it wasn't good service to our patients. It just wasn't good, right?
Yeah.
Again, that energy comes through.
Sure.
But if you love one-on-ones, and think about this, keep three one-on-one clients.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that,
Exactly.
three
Exactly.
meetings a month, that doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And the text message, because people that's the thing. Those types of clients, they don't want to talk to you every day. They're too busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When they have something, hey, I got to run this by you. Sounds good, no big deal. And it's not a burden, it's a joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a very select few.
Yeah, exactly. So you just talked about a shift that just happened. And one of the things that we talk about on the podcast is we talk about these sort of pivot points. And I've heard you talk about the shift, which sounds like they're fairly similar. But like walk us through one of your pivot points, whether that's leaving sort of the traditional medical practice, whether that's a shift that you just went through, because I understanding how you walked that out, both the, oh, I got clarity and, oh, I had this dark night of the soul where I thought, what the hell am I doing? Like all of that is so applicable to the audience of whether
Yeah.
you're facing closing a business, opening a business, going from the corporate world into entrepreneurism. Like we're all facing shifts or pivot points in our lives, and just help us walk through what that looked like for you.
So the largest pivot point for me was leaving traditional medicine in a full-time capacity.
Mm,
I recently actually am taking a break from clinical practice in person completely
mm,
to finish the second book
wow.
because which is terrifying for me, right? Because even my son about a year ago, actually almost two now, he actually asked me, are you still a real doctor because you don't work in the hospital? Like,
Yeah.
when you call me out, kiddo. Good job.
Thanks, pal.
Thanks, thanks, thanks. And but it made me really look because that pivot point. Now, I'll give a bit of background because I think this will apply to a lot of your listeners. I didn't quit. My goals, I got shifted to a different department,
Mm,
which was not my home department. I had been in the same department for 13 years.
wow.
Overnight, this was my home. This was my work home. Probably
Mm,
had more emotional investment than my home because that's how we're raised when we're hard workers like this, right?
sure.
And now that has that has pivoted as well.
Yeah.
My primary love is now at my house, is now at my home. So,
Mm,
and that's a gift that I didn't even know I needed, frankly. Um, but that transition took me a year and a half to go from now the transition didn't take me that. I got a boot right out of that part was easy. It was you're not working here anymore. I was like, oh, okay. That's interesting. It's not exactly how it went, but that's the short
mm,
version. And I knew
sure.
at the time cognitively it was the best thing that could happen to me because it made me move.
Mm-hmm.
I was never going to move. I was comfortable. I
Mm-hmm.
love my job. I still love emergency medicine. We all know that high performance careers,
Mm-hmm.
they take a lot out of you. And but we don't stop because it's the dopamine hits, it's the ego hits, it's all of the things. It's the proving your worth, it's knowing your worth, knowing you're valuable, saving lives, right? So and over the past year and a half, we'll condense this into 90 seconds. I realized that as an emergency physician, if I saved a mom's life, that's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's an incredible feeling. It's service to the world. She gets to go home and hug her child one more time. All of the things. If I can save 1,000 emergency medicine physicians,
Mhm.
how many moms does that save? I don't get the ego hit the same, right? I don't get the in the moment trauma, airway, that sort of thing. But to me, that's service. That is service giving back to the profession that gave so much to me.
Mm.
Getting there was not easy. I lost half my
Yeah.
hair. I got shingles. It was I mean, literally every time I would go back to work in the department, I would come home. I would be driving home in this from this new department, which was a longer commute. And I would have this existential crisis every time because I loved what I was doing there. But I'm like, great, I treated 12 patients. If I get on YouTube and do a video and teach doctors, if I get on TikTok and teach my patient population, because that's where my patient population is,
Mhm.
one of my videos has 500,000 views
Wow.
in 1 minute. That's a lot of lives I can change.
Hmm.
So again, it's the one is traditional, one is
Hmm.
very non-traditional.
There had to be some kind of cognitive dissonance or like, so, like, how did you do the reckoning of those two things?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Very
You're like,
poorly.
not well.
Not well. I fell on my face a lot.
Okay.
Um, it really just what happened was I started being of service to people online. My own health journey has been the impetus for, I mean,
Hmm.
we had talked about this earlier that I've been coaching forever, and I finally found an anchor to help me
Hmm.
actually make a big difference in my life, in business clarity, in health, the whole thing. And I started getting online, just literally helping people
Hmm.
and saying, no, 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 helping them navigate the system, right? No, no, that's not how this works. Hold on a second. Let me help you. Let me show you this. And
Hmm.
finally, one woman asked me, wait a minute, you're a doctor? And I said, yeah. And she said, can you be my doctor? And I said,
Mm.
I don't know, maybe. And she was my very first telehealth patient. And I thought, oh, I'll just do, a couple people on the side. And within 6 months, I had completely replaced my emergency medicine income
Wow. Through telehealth.
just through helping, just through service. Just
Wow.
I could help her, and then I helped other people, and then it just grew because people needed help.
Hmm. Were you disgruntled at the system when you were in it? Because a lot of times there's some pain that pushes us. So I
Mhm.
hear some of the pain, but were you in the system and you're like, yeah, this doesn't work? But you not what I'm hearing is not that you had this sort of conscious decision of, and I'm about to do something about it. Is
Yeah, no,
you're like, no, wasn't that clear?
it
Okay.
wasn't. It wasn't at all. And I got pushed out because I was disgruntled, and I didn't see this
Mm,
until I could see from the outside.
sure.
But I no longer fit the mold.
Sure.
Um, I I remember very vividly two conversations with my immediate supervisor that I wanted to change the health of the group. My goal was to keep the group of the and I look at this from the outside like, why didn't you see this?
Mm,
Because I kept thinking we need to keep this group healthy. We need to keep these emergency medicine physicians healthy. We need to keep them on the ground.
yeah.
And when I would come with initiatives, I was going to someone who was firmly entrenched in the current system. We all know the medical system is what it is.
Hmm.
And one of the initiatives that I brought to him, and I was going to do it. I wasn't,
Hmm.
this was no money, this was no time, I was going to do it. He looked at me and said, I don't have the bandwidth for that.
Mm,
Now, in retrospect, it wasn't about me, it was fine, but it should have shown me, listen, you're trying to make changes that the system won't support.
yeah.
This is not the place to do it.
Hmm.
I didn't see it though because I loved my job. So I
Yeah.
wasn't burnout. If you were to, well, I was, but I didn't know it.
Yeah.
If you would ask me, I passed all the burnout surveys. I had protected sleep. All the things. But looking back, which is why I tell my clients, if you do not want to start to understand what you need to do not slow down. Because if you slow down, you cannot unsee what's going to come up.
Mm, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
When it's interesting because one of the phrases I often say is whenever you're saying, something's wrong, someone should do something about it. I'm like, that someone is you.
Yeah.
Because like you might be seeing a problem that other people aren't seeing, or you're seeing potential solutions other people aren't seeing. But if you're waiting for someone else to come in and save the day, usually they don't. And what I'm hearing is you're looking around going, wow, someone should do something about this. Like this isn't going to work. And like how were people around you supportive of this? I mean, I'm kind of leading the witness a little bit because a lot of times when we talk about like massive changes, particularly when you're academically invested in something else, or you've got student loans, or family put you through this, or you're the third generation of doctors, lawyers, CPAs, whatever it is, usually people are like, don't make a change. What was that like for you?
So my husband will possibly listen to this podcast or people he knows.
Okay.
Um, he did not talk to me for 4 days. We
Okay.
we have not, we don't argue. I mean, we've been together for 30 years. We don't argue a ton anymore. We do have some heated conversations, but it's always toward a productive end. We've worked really
Mm-hmm.
hard in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
He was very angry that why would you leave a good job like this? Now I still had a full-time job. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you straddled both worlds for a while.
Yes, and it just wasn't in the same department. And
Mm.
6 months later, he actually said to me, roughly, that was very courageous what you did because the easiest thing for you to do would be to get another job in emergency medicine. They're out there.
Yeah.
We get so many job offers every week,
Mm-hmm.
texts, emails, phone calls. And he said the easiest thing for you was because I loved my job.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I went into this unknown territory and it's only unknown to me, right? You asked because it was an educational investment. I still have 14 years of student loans left to pay.
Wow. Yeah.
They're still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, but now in retrospect, it was fear, right? Like,
Yeah.
holy cow, what do you mean? You just torpedoed your whole career? Because that's what it looks like
Mm-hmm.
when you've invested literally decades into law school, medical school, master's degrees, MBAs, all the things. And then all of a sudden you're like, you're going to do what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And everyone around you was like, okay. And then they're like, whoa, okay.
How did that? Where did you get that courage, though? Is this? I'm just thinking, like, let's be real. Most people, if their spouse didn't talk to them for 4 days, would have bowed out. Like if they had a 4 hour silent treatment, they'd be like, "Peace out." And whether we're talking about the withstanding your spouse not understanding your decision or just the social pressures, like, where did that courage come?
That's a very good question. I think one conversation I had with my dad gives me a lot of insight because I didn't have the insight. I'll be honest. I just knew that I couldn't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah.
I loved my hospital. That was my ER. If I ever go back to full on trauma, emergency medicine, it will be there
Mm-hmm.
because that was my environment. That's what I grew up in. They raised me from a baby doctor, and that was my, so the courage was almost, it was not courage. It was not courage. It was more of there was faith for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I couldn't, which I don't go against that pressure normally. That
Mm-hmm.
pressure is very, like you said something about being codependent earlier. Um, that pressure is very hard for me. I'm a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
So when the world is angry at me, when the world doesn't understand me, that's hard for me. Now, I also had a coach behind me that said you have to be willing to be misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. Good advice. Yeah.
And sometimes even that was misunderstood by me. If you would have asked me 3 years ago what I would be doing, now this was the dream of what I was doing, but I've had other coaches tell me you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That population is not ready, willing, and able to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, again, a lot of mixed messages where I can't do
Yeah.
that. Then I meandered my way through and did, whatever. but it got me here. But you're right, that courage, I see it in my physician clients every day. They don't have the courage to move. It's easier just to go work one more shift.
Yeah, for sure. I see I love that you put this in there. It was a social media post and it's something that we talk about here on the podcast too, where people don't give themselves permission. In fact, in my Pivot Me Academy, we actually have permission slips and it's kind of a joking thing that we do. And I'm like, all right, what do I have to give you permission for?
Love it.
And as adults, we're struggling with, we want someone to say it's okay, whether it's okay to close the business, open the business, leave the marriage, move overseas, whatever it is.
Stay in the
And
marriage.
stay in the marriage, like all of those things, like
Yeah.
that, like a permission slip for that. Um, was there a decision there to give yourself permission to do this?
It was very insidious for me. I
Mhm.
didn't have, angels singing. Nobody handed me a slip.
Yeah.
It was like you said about the clarity. It was clarity over time for me, where the more I did that, I couldn't stop, right? If you told me, I could think that's kind of where it really went. If you told me you have to stop one thing or the other, which is where it eventually sort of went, because energetically, you cannot keep your foot in the other pool.
Sure.
You can't straddle both worlds. It doesn't work very well. And if you told me I had to quit entrepreneurship
Mhm.
or that full-time job, I chose to go part-time. I mean, it's emergency medicine.
Mhm.
You can go part-time. You could,
Yeah.
for a long time, I was working one shift a month.
Hmm.
Like, your patients don't know what shift that is for you. It's only
Sure.
administration that gets bothered by it.
Yep. Yep.
So, but the conversation with my dad was pretty funny, and he said, "We have cats on this show. If you're watching the video
So
version, we have cats, and it's how they go."
yeah,
Uh,
you can't tell cats what to do anyhow. I've learned that we're
no.
new cat people, and I've learned I was always a dog person, but now I've learned that nobody is the boss of a cat. Like you don't own a cat. The cat lets you be in their presence for a period of time. That's all you
Yes,
got.
absolutely. They own the house for sure. It's a good lesson in lack of control for sure.
Yeah, right.
And but my dad said to me, since you were like 4 or 6 years old, you've always done your own thing.
Mm,
You like I've always been a creative entrepreneur type of mentality.
mm-hmm,
I never saw that. I'm like, how do you get that, Dad? I got my master's degree in athletic training, and then I went back to medical school, and then like it's all this traditional education. And then I looked back when I was an athletic trainer and we were going to medical school, my kids at my high school were going to be left without an ATC. So
mm,
I formed a company to provide part-time athletic trainers because nobody wanted to do this. It didn't make any money. So none of the big companies wanted to do it. So I formed a company and I recently found a box with our old sports medicine solutions company. I had 20 high schools at one point in Northwestern Ohio. I was
mm-hmm,
like, wait a second, I don't remember it being that big,
mm-hmm.
but I just did it because the need was there.
Yeah,
So there was no moment of courage. There was just, oh, they need this. Let's do it. Let's make sure it happens.
yeah, yeah. So once you switch over, I'm thinking about you make this big switch and now you're starting into this other space and getting into when's the moment where you're like, holy shit, this works? Because I'm guessing there is a moment where you're like, this can't be a real career. This can't be a real revenue generator. There's got to be this moment, whether that's the first, I don't know, PayPal, Venmo charge that comes over, debit that comes over. Like, was there a moment where you're like, this is a real thing? Like, I could actually do this.
That for me, that pivot was the medical practice. Because I had people ask me, "Oh, you can't form a relationship with people online." I'm like, "You do know what happens with romantic relationships online, right?" I mean, just let's just
Well,
throw that
because the in-person doctor-patient relationship has been so good in this country, you couldn't
out.
possibly exceed that
Because that's
17
helping.
seconds. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And so what ended up happening, and this sort of happened, kind of came from my lawyer, believe it or not,
Okay.
because when she and I were talking business structure in the beginning, and she's like, "Well, how much money are you making?" And I told her, and she said,
Hmm.
"Okay, what the hell? All right." And she's very blunt. She is a pit bull. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's incredible. And she said, "Okay, hold on. Now, if you were doing a little side gig, that's a different thing. You
Yeah.
have a thing." And I mean, I've got seventeen employees total. We've
Hmm.
Like I am the coach in this medical practice.
Hmm.
This is the virtual equivalent. I hate virtual. Use
Hmm.
remote. We are real people. We just aren't in the same location.
Yeah.
I have a remote office. Like when you walk into the office, somebody hands you a clipboard. Somebody does
Hmm.
that in my company. And
Hmm.
that's what we built. But that's when it happened, when it was like, oh, this is not a little side gig. I'm not bringing in, I teach doctors to make their first 10K. The reason I do that is because there's a lot of mindset shifts involved in there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But my company for the past 2.5 years is a $4+ million revenue generator. So that's
Ooh.
like, oh yeah, it's not a side gig.
Does it still feel a little unreal?
It does.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
absolutely does. And the funny part is, and I was disenchanted with it for a little bit just because of my systems. And that's when you realize this is a process problem. This is not a people
Hmm.
problem. This is a process problem.
Hmm.
Because now I've literally 30 days later, I'm like, no, no, this is good. This is what we're doing. Because everything I do in that business allows me to show other people the easy way to do it on a very small scale.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Show them
When
what's possible.
when people are coming to you, whether that's we'll talk about the physicians first, and then I want to talk about what you do with the patients, and we've talked before about GLP-1 stuff like that, so I want to get into that too.
Yeah.
um with the physicians, so um let me frame it this way. My experience is people will come to me for skill set, and they're almost always missing mindset.
A
Like they'll
thousand
come for skill
percent.
set, they'll stay with for mindset, but nobody goes, I think I'm struggling with imposter syndrome, and I've got a
Yeah.
sunk cost bias over what I used to do, and I can't transition well to, like, nobody has that level of, most people don't have that level of self
Right.
awareness. They're like, I need to learn leadership skills, to learn communication skills. I need, so I'm
100%.
curious what people come to you for, and then what they actually really need.
Yes. If any physicians out there hear this, they're going to be like,
Plug
no,
your
that's
ears,
not me.
plug
It's me.
your ears.
And that's really it. I actually just did a couple of videos on this that it's like any coach that is worth their salt teaches
Mhm.
you sell them what they want and you give them what they need, right?
Yep.
I'm pulling back the curtain, guys. This is Oz,
Mhm.
right? And they come because they want tactics, they want templates, they want what do I need to do to start a telemedicine business? What do I need to do to start a coaching business for these clients that I want to do?
Mhm.
Absolutely, I got that. I can dump that in your lap. That's
Mhm.
easy. Because I can tell you, you follow step one, step two, and step three. Now the question is, why aren't you following step one? Because they don't. They never do. The first course that I'm actually creating a second course right now because my first course, that is the basis of my coaching, I realized with the first clients I started taking in, right away, I started developing this other course because there's a gap from where they are and where I
Mhm.
want them to be.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's what and it is really mindset. It's the permission slip.
Mhm.
It's
Why
that,
aren't they taking that first step?
yeah,
So why do you find that they are? Because I'm sure we all think we're unique special flowers, and yeah, we
yeah,
kind of are, except it's like the three or four trend lines are all like we all have the similarity. So I'm sure you can make a relatively decent generality. Why aren't they taking that first step?
fear,
Mm.
absolute fear. One of the largest fears I find in physicians is fear of public failure.
Ooh, yes.
Because and that's actually why I'm creating these new courses.
Hmm.
I want them to see, my whole thing is with my patients or my physicians, they need a safe space to be themselves. That's what I needed in my first book, which is that one. That's all
Hmm.
mindset crap. It's called Happy First. It's all about mindset. Now the
Hmm.
subtitle is How to Win the Day, in the
Hmm.
kitchen, in the gym, all those things because people want tactics, right? And there's tactics in there, but
Sure.
it's fear of public failure. So I want to meet people where they are and give them a safe space to grow. That growth might only be, it might not be not everybody wants to do what I do. Dear God, I hope not, because it's a little stressful at times.
Hmm.
But maybe they just want, and that's why I get them to their first 10K. Maybe they only want 5K a month. Maybe they want 2K a month. They pay their student loans with that and they don't have to think about it ever again. It's everything's different for everyone. I want them to have a safe space to fail. Because
Hmm.
guess what? When you start something new, you're going to fail. You are absolutely going to fail. The good news is when you're an entrepreneur, you fail fast because no one's got time to sit there.
You usually fail publicly too. You don't
Oh,
usually get a chance to fail in behind the scenes. You're like, oh, well, launch the product, nobody bought it. That's a public failure. Here we go.
that was fun, right? Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, that was a big fat flop. My first YouTube
Mhm.
channel had 7 subscribers, everyday video for over a year,
Mm,
and had like 7 subscribers, and one was my dad, and 3 were like me, right? The other accounts that I had on YouTube.
yes.
So so it was
I love
like,
this.
great, this is so much fun. But it got me used to sharing my message. Now, the message wasn't, I was trying to figure out my message. It wasn't
Hmm.
clear. It failed
Yep.
for a reason. It's like when people blame the algorithm in social media. It ain't the algorithm, your content sucks.
Mm, yeah.
Like, because it bumps up in the algorithm when it's good. So, you know,
Hmm.
me being stuck in 400 view jail, which is where I currently, well, not always, but it's just
Hmm.
because my content's not good enough yet, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's interesting though is one thing that I've seen in what you put out there is that and this is great that you said that why aren't they getting to the first step? It's fear and it's fear of public failure. What I love about that and why one of the many reasons why I think your message would resonate so much is that you're the first to put your public failure on display. Like you're like, oh, I screwed that up. Let me tell you. I mean, I've watched your videos where you are the first to be like, well, let me tell you all the ways the light bulb didn't turn on.
Yep.
And then the ways that I tried it again, because I forgot I tried it before and it didn't work. Like that's one of the great things that you do is you fail publicly, or if you don't fail
Yeah.
publicly, you then reiterate how you failed. And so you're normalizing this thing like, hey, I get it. We're supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to operate literally and figuratively with absolute precision. That is not how entrepreneurism works. It doesn't. It's a whole lot of messy attempts.
Yeah. Like when you walk into a patient's room, for example, and they ask you a question, and this happens a lot in we do Wednesday night happy hours. That's where I am if my patients want to see my face.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll ask me a question, and I'll be like, I don't know. I got to look it up. Now, I used to do that in the room on my phone
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've been an ER doc for 15 years, but I don't know everything. God, I hope not. That's a lot to
Sure.
hold in his brain. And that means I'm going to forget my financial information. I'm going to forget my kid's birthday. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to forget the things that actually matter. There's
Mm-hmm.
a really funny YouTuber out there. It's Dr. Glaucom Flecken. For those of you who are listening, if you haven't watched him, watch him. It's hilarious. You got
Don't
to
know
look up
him
his
and don't
name.
know how to spell him. So we're going to have to Google that.
It
Okay.
is,
I put it
it
in the
is
show notes.
so funny. But he has a video when he's talking to someone who's taking a board exam in medicine. And then this applies, I'm sure, for CPAs and for lawyers and high execs. You're taking a board exam and they make you memorize all of this information.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, so medical school doesn't teach you about billing or anything? And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, no. He's like, but you can look that information up. He's like, yep, but that's what we get
Mm-hmm.
tested on. And he said, well, how do you get paid? He goes, well, I go to work. And he goes, well, where does the money come from? And this doctor to be says, the money, people? Because that's the disconnect.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, we're tested on this esoteric garbage that nobody cares what maple syrup urine disease is. And yes, that's the condition in his video because it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And it is a real disease. But nobody cares that it comes from alpha galactosidase deficiency, right? Like, how many times are you going to treat that in your career?
Mm-hmm.
0 for most of us.
Mm-hmm.
We had to get tested on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about going back to the when people are afraid to fail and afraid to fail publicly, what do you tell them? Like what do you so everybody comes for tactics. They want templates. They want, oh, I want tactical steps. And I'm a huge fan of that as well. Like I very much, okay, here's the 10 steps, here's the 5 steps. Very, very important. But how are you going to take a person, a physician who is afraid to fail publicly and then get them to failure is part of that's failure is a feedback loop and we have to accept that. Very true in entrepreneurism, and really hard for someone like a physician, someone, I'll just say someone with an advanced degree. They really struggle with that because precision, I mean, try to teach an engineer how to run a business and it is, I have done that. It's like banging your head against the wall because you're like, you
Mhm.
can't engineer success. There's just a little bit of alchemy. There's this space between that's just magic and you cannot engineer that. So
Yeah.
what do you tell those people when you're getting them to that step one?
I like that you call it magic. I'm going to borrow that
Okay.
because there's two parts of that because they're afraid to fail.
Mhm.
That's fine. Will work on that, but they're afraid to fail publicly. They would rather take a course and not have to tell anyone, make it low enough in price that they don't have to ask their spouse for permission,
Yes.
and then nobody has to know if they fail except for them.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the second part, publicly. So you've got the fear of failure, and then you've got the public part. One thing they have to learn to be is public. Doctors hide. High-level professionals hide. I don't know how it is with a lot of, lawyers, CPAs, executives, doctors out there on Instagram. I would say at least 75% of the ones I encounter will not tell you they're a doctor in their profile. They don't
Is
even
it
want
for litigation reasons? Is it? It's
they're
not that.
they're hiding.
Okay.
They're just because our souls are just slowly dying. I hate to say
Mm-hmm.
it. We're hiding because we have to be perfect when we're out there. So if they know I'm a doctor, I'm going to have to be perfect. I don't want to be perfect today. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to show you pictures of my dog or my travels or my kids
Sure.
today because I'm not going to show you me in a bathing suit because Lord knows that's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not, so part of it is number one, they have to become public.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do tell them is here's where you're going to start. You're going to start sharing a story every day.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it should be three, let's be honest, but you're going to start sharing a story every day. It's only there for 24 hours. You got it in your archives, but that's your private, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
only public for 24 hours. I have had some reels that I've done that I am not proud of. Oh, they're not pretty. I was angry when I did them. I was angry at whatever. But again, that's the
Mm-hmm.
real me. And that's what I share because you're going to get the real me. You're going to get me that in coaching. You're going to get me as the owner of the medical practice. That's what you get. Yes, will I improve? But to teach people to take step one, it's not just step one. There's really about 10 steps to get to that step one.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be public. It's like that YouTube channel that I did every day for a year that nobody watched
Mm-hmm.
because it got me used to being public.
Mm-hmm.
And my coach challenged me. It challenged me in a very public way for 1,000 days. I told him, oh, I'll share a reel a day for 1,000 days. He said, you're too good for that. I was like, oh, what? I'm sorry. This was December 2nd. I'll tell you exactly when it was. He said, I want you sharing 2 reels a day for 1,000 days. And I said, okay. And he said, so what are the consequences? He said, if it doesn't happen, what are you promising? And I don't
Make it
know.
hurt.
Oh, it hurt. And I don't know where this came from, but this was a God thought for sure because it wasn't mine. I
Mm-hmm.
have to quit all entrepreneurial endeavors and go back to work in the ER full time.
Holy shit. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you
And
made it hurt. Yep. Yep.
oh,
Okay.
and that was December 2nd. And I actually did not have the systems in place when I went on a business trip for 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 of my reels failed.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent him a message and I said, here's what happened. I'll tell you, I'm very sorry, but I will tell you I'm not going back. I will fix the systems and I will be honest about it, but I can't go back. I'm not going to give up the impact that I want to create.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not a good day.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I'm just thinking about the YouTube that you had that where the fact that people weren't watching at first, that was the lesson. If you
Yeah,
would have done your first one and everyone's like, wow, this is amazing. Everybody watch Dr. Mo and check this out. Good, feels good, success in
right.
your business. But the wrong lesson is there because it's funny. I've actually recorded a podcast on this that I made a joke that people with advanced degrees are the worst people to coach in business. And you probably already know where I'm going with this. Like I was like, oh, great. It's going to have to be perfect. And it's going to have to be this. And it's going to have to be that. And they're going to tell me 50 ways why either it won't work, they're not qualified, they need another degree, they need a certification. We have this in-person event that we do once a year. It's called Collaborate. And last September we were doing it. And there was a couple of coaches there. And it was funny because 2 of the coaches were talking to a dear friend of mine who has a PhD in organizational psychology, I think it is. Janelle, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so she was talking to these two coaches who do not have PhDs. And she's like, I really like what they're doing and I like how they're helping people. And she's a professor to professors and all over the world. She's very successful and niche in this area. And she said, she made the mistake of saying this at night, sitting down, have a couple of gin and tonics. And she's like, I think I would like to do some of this coaching thing. I think I'm going to go back and get my master's in social work. Now, she had multiple degrees at this point, travels all over the world to teach on like the psychology of communication and her takeaway. And I was like, if that was your takeaway today, I have led you astray, my friend. You are not going back for another degree. All that to say is I have found that more formal education, slower to execute. More formal
1,000%.
Same, right? Because they just don't know, like entrepreneurism is messy. And I want to be clear, this is no fault of their own. This is the system they've been brought up in absolute precision. And when I recorded this podcast, I said, my degree, I have a science degree, my degree slowed down my progress as an entrepreneur because I was trying to chart it so perfectly. I was like, oh, I'm a systems and processes person. I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And again, there's that little space of the magic. And I couldn't make the jump of like, well, my end value isn't high enough. I cannot predict the outcome, right? So if you run in this too, and when you're an entrepreneur, you've just got to like throw it against the wall and you're like, well, that didn't work. Let's try again. And that is a hard place for people that are scientists, people that came from, precision type, engineers and CPAs where both sides have to balance. My God, like how they can run a business is nearly impossible because they're just going to tell you how expensive everything is.
And you have to pivot quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
That's not innate for those of us who crave security, because that's why we have these degrees, right? Our parents told us, get a good job and you'll be secure.
Yeah.
Or because I'm not third generation doctorate, that's for sure. Neither of my parents completed college. My dad went, I think, to a semester of college and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is where I think a lot of this comes from. He created his own career in computers. So he was an entrepreneur, which I didn't even know that was a thing until very recently, that he always worked within an organization, but he had that entrepreneurial mindset. And as he says, I always found the biggest pile of shit to jump into and to fix it. I'm like, oh, that's where I get that from. Okay, sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's great.
So many people, like I've actually told, because you've got to appease them. I have a client who's a veterinarian, and she wants to do health coaching she's also was one of my triathlon clients for years. Like, I mean, she's got the knowledge.
Sure.
And she wants to coach veterinary practices how to maintain their longevity and how to become more successful. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so needed because they don't take care of themselves. And, and she owned her own vet practice for 35 years. Like she's got all the knowledge.
Sure.
But I don't have a health coach certification. And I'm chuckling to myself, right?
Yeah,
so, I told her, I said, I need you to find the cheapest, fastest one you can find online. Because you're not going for that. You're going that to pat your little secureness on the back and to say, okay, I get that, whatever piece of paper it is, just get it. I don't care. Because the world needs your voice. I don't care who is hearing this. The world needs your voice, your experience, your skill set. No one else but you has that.
And they're not waiting for you to put 3 initials at the end, like ICF or whatever it is. Like that's almost always you. And that's the truth. It's like, I found that people are not nearly rejected at the rates that they think they are. They're self-selecting. Oh no, I'm not ready to sit at that table. I'm not ready to go in there. Like people are bitching that the system has blocked them. And there is some of that. I want to be clear. But what I have found time and time again is you keep self-selecting. I'm going to reject myself before someone else has the opportunity to.
Yes. Same reason you broke up with all those guys before. Because before they could dump you ditched them first.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I love this thread, but I want to be cognizant of our time because we got to switch over to what you're doing for patients. And that's how you came into, I had a good friend that was following you and she's like, you got to follow this lady. She's amazing. Tell
Oh,
us what you do for patients. And I mean, I've seen your lives and the messaging. And I also want to touch on maybe some myths about why people, again, this is a hard left turn, friends. Some myths about why people are struggling with weight loss, particularly when you've got people that are doing Ironmans and endurance athletes. How in the world, with so much discipline to do that, could you also struggle with weight loss? So I just teed you up for a bunch of stuff. Talk to
yeah.
us.
Yes. So the Ironman thing, for example, my last Ironman attempt was right before I went on a GLP-1.
Mm,
I was 50 pounds heavier than I am right now. And let me tell
mhm.
you, that is not a pleasant journey, trying to truck that over 140.6 miles. I know that because I've done Ironmans at 153 pounds and I've done them at 121 pounds. I'll tell you which one's easier. And the 121 pounds at that time, that was not achieved in a healthy way at all.
Mm,
Not at all. But it's still, my life was still easier, even when it was not a healthy way. So that's something to chew on. I would
okay.
never advocate losing weight the way I did. It was 100% stress. I wouldn't do it. It was stress, both what I was doing and what I was in. It was a bad situation in general.
Sure.
But it did cause some very large shifts in my life because I couldn't live in that criticality in my head anymore. So that's where my first book, Happy First, was born,
Hmm.
because that book was me crawling out of a very large hole. Now, when you get to killing yourself with food, and I'm hoping we might have to edit that out, we'll see. When TikTok blocks me all the time for that.
Well,
Um,
we're good. I know. I see you having to police your language so much, but we'll be good on all the major podcast platforms. So we're good.
okay.
Killing
Because
yourself with
literally,
food. We said it.
I could not stop eating. I have a long history of binge eating disorder. Using let's not even call it that because that again puts the locus of control outside of me. I use food. Food was not my problem. Food was my solution. Food
Mm,
was the solution for everything. Still can be if I
mhm,
don't keep the things in check. And that's where the GLP-1 came into play. And there's a ton of stigma around that, just like leaving medicine. It's the same thing. It's what the world thinks is going on versus what is really going on.
mm,
And what I do for patients is same thing I do for everyone else. I give them a safe space to find something that actually works for them. And sorry, we're still getting through this cold.
mhm,
And my patients, so many of them come to me justifying, oh, I'm X pounds overweight, or oh, my cholesterol is high, which I'm not saying those are what the government says that you need to take these medications. I'm not saying there aren't valid reasons and invalid reasons. I've had patients lie to me, just a couple of them, lie to me so they could abuse the drug. And when we found out, we have swiftly removed them from our practice. They are not our people.
mhm,
But people don't find me by accident. People don't come to Dr. Mo because their life is hunky dory.
mhm,
People come here because you're struggling with food. You have so much food noise. And this is doctors and patients alike. This is actually why these one-on-one clients, they're not just doctors. We're going
mhm,
high-level executives that want GLP-1s and lifestyle medical management
mm,
because it's real. It is real.
yeah.
When you're living a life run by food, your family loses out, your health loses out, your finances lose out.
Mhm,
It's a scary place to be. It's a very scary place to be. I went to my primary doctor. This is what started the whole thing. And I said, I can't stop eating and I need help. And this is right after I did two-thirds of an Ironman because I didn't make the whole thing. I wasn't strong
mhm,
enough. And you know what he said to me?
mm,
Eat less, move more. I'm paraphrasing. And do you belong to a church? I'm like, well, I've been in 12 step for 20 years. I do belong to a church. I just completed two-thirds of an Ironman. I know how to work out. I've gained 20 pounds training for said Ironman and another
mhm.
20 pounds after.
Yeah.
Your advice is
Yeah.
not helpful.
Do you think it's because he doesn't know the answer? Do you think it's placating? Do you think it's, I mean, why are people are getting answers that aren't working? And even like the common, and that's one of the things that I heard you break down. This is what really resonated with my friends is she's like everything kind of one of the everything you know is wrong, which is very much a social media shtick thing. But
Yeah.
also there is truth to that. Like, oh, calories in, calories out. And it's like, well, wait a second. There are people that is not quite applying to. I mean, eventually with, 12
Right.
months, 18 months, maybe that's gonna work. But you break down a lot of myths around that. And you're giving people answers that they're just not getting in other places.
And that's super refreshing to hear because that's my goal. When someone says, "But I only need to lose 10 pounds." Again, it's just like clients with you. What are you not telling me?
Mm,
And what I always ask them is, "Why can't you lose the 10? If it's only 10, what's the big deal? Why are you coming to me?" And
yeah.
they're like, "Oh, well, that's not really the whole story." Of course it
Yeah.
isn't.
Yeah, for sure.
It's because you have to over exercise to compensate for those, or you have to diet and you have to restrict, and you have a shit relationship with food. And, it's running again. You hear that running commentary. It's
Yeah.
that ticker tape at the bottom of ESPN. It's
Hmm.
all about food. It's how do I keep my weight in check? And then people get on a GLP-1 and they realize, wow, my drinking was way out of control.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? That's what my friend had commented too. She's like, what I didn't expect. And she was a patient of yours. I don't even know if we've talked about this, but she lives in Texas. She was a patient of yours. And she said, telehealth medicine, she'll remain nameless, but she said, I didn't realize how much I was drinking.
Yeah.
Very successful business owner, yada, yada, yada. Physically did not, most people would say, oh,
Mhm.
you don't need to lose weight, that whole thing. And she's
Yeah.
like, I'm 20 pounds heavier than I need to be and that I'm comfortable with. What surprised her most is how her drinking went down. So can you explain that a little bit?
So again, much like food is not my problem, food has been my solution since I was very young, and younger than I actually even cognitively accepted. Because when I think back, my doctor took me off of whole milk at 1 year old because I don't have an off switch.
Mm, okay.
And I don't think at one I learned that. Now, I did kind of learn it, right? Because it's an emotional, physical cortisol response, right? If your mother was
Mm,
stressed out when she was pregnant with you, you were bathed in cortisol for months.
mm,
Think about it. I mean, think about it. You feel though, literally, your thoughts are hormones and chemicals and neurotransmitters in your body. So you asked about cortisol before. When you think about that, and this is not something, this is an N of one. This is not something I can do a population study on because there are so many variables.
mm.
But for someone like me, for example, that I don't have an off switch. I never knew what it felt like to be truly satisfied and comfortable until the first day that I injected Manjaro.
Wow.
I had no idea. It was very bizarre, actually, because it was July 4th, 2022 was my Independence Day. And it was the same day I hired my first successful business coaches because I said I was
Mm.
never going to hire another coach. I'm not spending any more money on this. And which big lie there. And I've
I
spent
didn't know it at the time, but I was lying through my teeth.
totally. And I said, I'll buy a book, but no more coaches. And so I injected Manjaro that morning because I was desperate. I just
Mm,
needed some sort of relief. I could not stop stuffing my face, frankly. And you're like,
mhm,
well, why couldn't you just stop? Just please, just let's just table that question for right now. We
mm,
can discuss that if you'd like to be a patient, come to happy hour. We're
mhm.
nationwide. So, but I injected it in the morning, Monday morning. What better time to start a diet? Because I didn't
Yeah.
know what I was doing at the time.
Low stress time. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, totally low stress, right? And I injected it. And that afternoon, I actually said to myself, something's super weird.
Mm,
Something's very different. And that quiet right there, I had never had that in my brain.
mm.
I didn't know I never had it because it's just the way I ran.
Can you explain what food noise is for those who don't aren't
Oh, if
familiar
you
with
don't
it?
know, God bless you.
Or maybe those who experience it, but they don't know it's called food noise. How about
Right.
that?
Because I didn't know what food noise I was like, and that's
Hmm.
what happened, where we call it food noise, but it's a lot of chatter. It's a lot of background. It is like the ticker tape, on a
Hmm.
news, on Fox News or ESPN. It's that constant flow of information.
Hmm.
It's the what are we going to eat next? What time did you get enough protein today? You really should start eating more vegetables. Do you think you're going to start that diet? Are you really going to do the workouts thing? And because it's not really
Mm,
just food noise, really. It's this self-criticism. And it's usually for those of us who find me, it is around food because, well, that's our drug of choice. It has been for
mhm,
many years. It's the easiest one. Food is love when you're little. So it's the easiest one to hit the receptors that calm you down.
mm.
So in order to quell that chatter, what do we do? Well, when we're younger, we eat. When we're older, we get angry, we shop, we look for external validation, we drink, we smoke, we vape.
We're just meeting a need. We're
We're
just meeting a need.
just meeting a need. And that noise is that constant chatter. And the food noise is really constant. Is did I hit my protein goal today? Am I going to get the workout in? What was my weight this morning? I'm going to weigh myself in the afternoon too. I'm just going to see. I'm just going to
Mm,
see. It's that constant. What are we doing for dinner? We just ate breakfast, for God's sake. It doesn't matter. I just
mhm,
need to know. I need to know. What time should I stop eating? Should I stop eating? I'm not going to stop eating. I know I'm going to stop eating, even though I should stop eating at 6 p.m. I know it's not going to happen.
mm.
Oh, damn day.
So when that happened, when you injected it on when your Independence Day,
Yeah.
like, did you feel free? I mean, did you go,
Oh,
holy shit, like I'm not being ruled by this today?
it was bizarre at
Mm,
about 12, 1, 2, early afternoon. I remember this because I was on a call with my coach and I got off of that call. She became my coach. She and her husband were my coach they still are actually.
mm.
And I will end my relationship with them at the end of this month, not because I don't love them, because that
Sure.
relationship has come to a close. And after that call, I thought, I forgot to eat.
Mm,
I'm not, and it's not about the appetite suppression. I don't need an appetite to eat. They are unrelated for me.
good
And
point.
yeah, and and this is not phentermine. This is not your hydroxy cut from high school. It's not an appetite
Oh yeah.
suppressant. I mean, it is, but it
Hmm.
isn't. It is,
It's not speed.
it's not speed. No, no such luck there, right? Let's be
Yeah.
serious.
You're not
Um,
going to clean your house faster because you took it, guys. It's
no,
just not going to work like that.
unfortunately not.
No, no.
But it was this peace.
Mm.
It was just, I sat there and I hid this from my husband. I had it wrapped up in paper towels in the back of my refrigerator for 3 weeks.
I bet that is more common. I
Oh.
bet that's pretty common.
And because and then I couldn't tell him because I was like, oh shit, I can't tell him. And then I
Because
kind
what
of
does
had
it
to tell
mean?
him.
Hold on one second. Why couldn't you tell them? Because what does it mean? Is it that you're weak
I'm a
because you need a
failure.
tool? You're a
Yep.
failure.
I
Okay.
am a failure because I'm weak and I couldn't do this on my own.
Mm.
But I
Oh,
mean,
that's
there
so
comes a
sad.
point. I've battled it for 40 plus years. Like at that point, doesn't there come a point where who cares?
But this is why the message from you, this is why you're such an important messenger. I'm weak. I'm a failure. I couldn't do it on my own. Okay, let's just put the scoreboard in the sky for Dr. Mo. Freaking masters with athletic health, doctor, Ironman, triathlete, like all of these things. You have such compelling evidence of how
Mhm.
much of a non-failure you are, how freaking strong you are. And at the end of the day, when it came to weight loss, you're like, oh, I would be a failure and I can't share it with the person that you're supposed to be able to share most with.
Because he's going to think I copped out and I'm weak.
Mm,
Like, why couldn't you just eat less?
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I do know now
Yeah.
looking back, and I've had a couple of posts on this because even now, 2 years in, now we're up to 3 years in, I had this revelation a few months ago. Wait a minute. I had a problem for 40 years, 40 plus
Mm-hmm.
years. It is managed, not fixed. It is managed with a chemical.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a chance? Is it a chemical problem? Is there a chance it's not willpower?
Well,
Just a chance,
wow, that's really fascinating
right?
because you are, and that's why when I teed up this conversation, I'm like, a lot of people will still say, oh, it's a discipline thing. Well, you
Mhm.
just have to be disciplined. In personal development, it's common to say, well, when the pain is great enough, you will take action. Bullshit. I see people in a tremendous amount of pain who
Uh-huh.
still don't take the action. So what is that? There again, there's the space between knowledge and action. And you are a perfect example, not to totally put the spotlight on you, but you are a disciplined person. And
Mhm.
you're saying, despite being able to do all these things, triathlons, I've done a few, not Ironman, Olympic distance, little baby triathlon, little tiny baby ones. And
They're hard.
they're hard. They take sacrifice, they take discipline, they take motivation. You have to get up and train, you have to put in the miles, you have to put in the hours, even when you don't want to. How can someone who can overcome that much still struggle? It does beg the question that it's something outside of the realm of discipline and motivation.
Mhm.
Know how. It's not know how.
Well, like
It's
any
a really good
addiction,
point.
when you look at people, addiction grabs people by the throat. I have a ton of it in my family.
Mm-hmm.
I see it in my friends. I see it in my coworkers. And it is it is not willpower anymore. It is a power outside of yourself.
Wow.
And I heard it said by a psychiatrist once, that was an amazing lecture on addiction. Addiction is just the reward system gone awry. But once it is broken, it is broken. They're An addict will choose their drug of choice, whatever that is, because it's a spectrum, of course, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
going to argue that food is not an addictive substance. There's a spectrum, like anything else. But a hardcore addict will choose the drug over their next breath, over their child's life,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a chemical pathway that is broken in their brain. Because if their frontal lobe was driving the bus, we wouldn't be in this predicament. And where does willpower come from? Your frontal lobe.
Interesting.
Yeah. Your body and your brain thinks you need that to survive. When you're underwater, you think your frontal lobe's in charge? No.
Mm. Yeah.
That's why people drown, because you take a breath underwater.
Interesting. Interesting. And isn't it, hasn't that been the case of around addiction that the GLP-1s are actually helping a lot with addiction
Ton
across
of
the
people.
board?
Ton of people.
Hmm. I
Yep.
mean, I'm always hesitant to believe in a panacea, right? Like we're taught to be skepticals of it. But are you kind of looking at it going, holy shit, is this the game changer? Is this the blockbuster? This become $1 billion industry that frankly combats the other $1 billion industry that maybe is working in
These 60, well, the diet industry is $66 billion.
66 billion? I feel
Last I
like it's
checked.
about to get I feel like it's about to get turned on its head right now.
And
Everybody's
now
gonna
on the
yeah.
flip side, all of that industry and the smart ones have already started to pivot, and they've already
Mm-hmm.
started to partner insecurities,
Yeah,
whether they're
yeah.
GLP-1 activator supplements, bullshit, don't buy them. Or
There you go.
I can tell you what foods will boost your GLP-1, but here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Endogenous GLP-1 that your body makes lasts a couple of minutes at most. These
Mm,
medications have been engineered to last with a half-life of 5 to 7 days for the current ones.
yeah,
That's kind of the difference. So, quickie science lesson there. That's all I'll
yeah.
do with that. But with addiction, and it is, we get real skeptical. And of course, people are going to say, but what about the side effects? Or what about long-term effects? These drugs have been researched. The
Mm-hmm.
receptor has been researched for 50 years. These drugs have
Mm,
been on the market for over 20 years, which means they've been researched. You know this because the FDA takes
yeah,
forever, for
sure.
25 years. So
So
what?
funny when people say the side effects. I'm like, do you know what the side effects of type 2 diabetes is? Do you know the side effects of heart disease, of early, of MIs? Like, do you know those side effects?
Death,
So funny when people go there. I'm
and a
like,
miserable death at that.
yeah. And the inactivity and the pain in the joints and yeah,
But I'm nauseated. For real? Like, then your
okay.
doctor's not dosing you
Take,
appropriately, by the
yeah,
way.
take some Zofran. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I can't. And I do get super feisty about this. And that's the one thing.
Mhm.
I stopped getting so feisty about this, and I started being more politically correct. But man, the anger is there.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is still
Well,
there.
people
And
are suffering. And you've got the solution, or you're a conduit for the solution.
Correct.
People are suffering. And I want to put a fine tip to this, because I know our pivoters, our listeners really, really well. And I'm just thinking about the mastermind. I just right before this call, I had the Pivot Me Academy, 8 business owners from all over the world dialing in. And ironically, 3 of them were talking about their weight loss journeys. Now, let me just frame out who are on these calls. These are successful people. These are motivated people. And 3 of them were talking about their weight loss journeys. One of them admitted to going on Manjaro. And I could see the other 2 who are also on the weight loss journey, like start asking all these questions. Well, what about this? What about this? What about? And really, I suspect the fear isn't about side effects. It's what does it mean about me if I take those drugs?
Oh,
I think that's what it is. So can you speak to someone who's listening, whether it's, those other 2 people who are just on my mastermind call, you know who you are, or just anyone who's listening right now? If it's, what does it mean about me if I use this tool to help me in my journey? Because these are successful people. These are not people that are like, oh, I'm just going to phone it in, which is what a lot of times people will think. That's not the case. This is a tool. So speak to them real quick.
So I'm gonna use a story that one of my former colleagues, who was one of my best friends, used to use all the time. And he said, "So I choose to put my shoes on and walk to my car and drive to work. I could walk barefoot to work, but it's
Mhm.
kind of uncomfortable and it takes me longer to get there. And it's really pretty inefficient and it hurts. And it
Mhm.
hurts me. It So why wouldn't you use a tool? I mean, why don't
Mhm.
we drive to California? Because it takes friggin' forever. Why don't we walk
Mhm.
barefoot to California? Oh, I'm going to buy a plane ticket. Hate to tell you. For
Mhm.
some reason, the stigma that the media grabbed on this medication, well,
Mhm.
and part of it is in the 70s, obesity was deemed a cosmetic disease by Medicare and Medicaid, by the government.
Interesting.
But that was the first step in this disaster because,
First shit domino to fall.
right? Boom. And there go the rest.
Mhm.
So obesity is, first of all, first of all, it's a moral failure because you just can't stop stuffing your face. I'm going to be devil's
Second,
advocate.
we put a moral second, we put morality to it. That's when it becomes,
Yep.
anyways.
So
Yes,
the government
agreed.
says we're not going to pay for it because it's just a cosmetic disease. Now,
Mhm.
the good news is there is no more healthy at every size. In the 90s, 2000s, I can't remember exactly when, we had the healthy at any size movement, healthy at every size, because our
Mhm.
lab work was fine. Oh, but here's what we realized. It doesn't stay fine.
Mm.
The continuum is different. I
Yeah.
have an acquaintance, a friend who topped out at 715 on the weight, and his labs were better than mine. He has no heart disease, calcium score was blind, it was clean. Mine was not.
Mm.
And I only topped out 55 pounds heavier than I am right now.
Mhm.
Only. Yeah, but I mean, I abused the ever living shit out of my body. I'm not
Sure.
gonna lie. I mean, it was not pretty. I earned it, right? It's okay.
Mhm.
It's all right. It's life lessons. I can help you better because I earned it.
Yeah.
And so that's the dominoes. Those are the dominoes that started to fall. We argued for I can be fat and healthy.
Mm. I remember that argument.
But here's the problem. What we were arguing wasn't the right argument. We were arguing I can be fat and worthy. Those are unfriggin' related. Yes.
Whoa, say that again. Whoa, that say that
It was
again.
it was the wrong argument. We were saying I am healthy, where that's not what that's not what we meant to argue. We meant to argue that just because I'm fat doesn't mean I'm not smart, doesn't mean I shouldn't get hired, doesn't mean I'm not worthy of loving you back, of loving myself. Those are unrelated and they have nothing to do with health.
Tell me you've done a video on this, because
I
holy
haven't,
shit.
which is hilarious.
You will be getting this audio clip, and this video clip. That is brilliant, because I was going to ask you, what's that tension between, I mean, we're kind of going on, here we are, but I knew this conversation was going to be amazing. But I'm like, what is that tension between body positivity and celebrating
I love
Lizzo?
my body. You want to hear a super funny thing
Hmm.
about the way, I mean, I absolutely love my body. Is it perfect? No,
Okay.
I bought boobs. Let's be serious, you know?
All right. What's
As
not to
my
love?
as my friend and plastic surgeon told me, I just gave you what God should have. I'm like, thank you. Appreciate it.
I love the way that phrased that. Yeah, that's good.
You know, I got in the brain line by mistake. Sorry. And
Mm.
you know, some of us have both. I did not. I just got in the brain line. Ooh, had nothing in the other category before. And
I'm using that. I got in the brain line. Okay. All right.
yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. And so, but you know, when I this I'm going to be super blunt. Feel free to edit this out
Yes. No, no, no. Be blunt. I love it.
because
I
you
love
got
it.
to remember, I'm emergency medicine. I saw people, some of my patients that live in my heart forever that did not make it are dialysis patients because
Mm,
they have kidney failure. Do you know every time I sit down to pee, I am so grateful that my kidneys work. I love my body. It gets
mm,
me up in the morning. Sometimes I'm 51 years old. Sometimes things hurt, you know?
mm-hmm.
And I, I am so grateful. This didn't start after weight loss. It has nothing to do with weight loss. My weight was a symptom of the standards and habits I upheld. It is not the problem. It is
Mm,
food is not my problem. Food is my solution. The weight wasn't the problem. It is an outcome based on my daily behaviors. Those are the problem.
wow. Wow.
And so we literally fought as a society to stay overweight because we wanted to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
Unfriggin' related. I'm not
Gosh.
worthy because I wear a size whatever jeans.
So true. So true. I mean, I watched that happen and it really affected my family. In my, I'll say my family lineage, obesity has been a major struggle for many members of my family that I love dearly. And it was so hard watching them navigate that and the implication of the moral failure that fell on them. And then and then again, we're talking 10, 15 years ago, then we're going to do lap band and we're going to do gastric bypass and we're going to look at all these different options and then all the moral implications of that and then trying to hide it from other family. Oh, because you threw in the towel, says another family member who is also obese and struggling with mobility. And there was just so much judgment happening. And I never thought of it as we're I never thought of the moral implications of the language that we're using and also separating out you are worthy and I'm worried about your health. Let's do some things that can address your health.
And
And
it's
what
mental
I'm
health
seeing about
too.
these meds is they're helping people that really have tried it all. They've tried so many things. And I think there's an assumption that these people haven't tried. They haven't tried hard enough.
I
That's
just didn't
not
do
the
the right
case.
diet. Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Because,
You
oh,
just
I
said
can
eat
give you a list.
grapefruits in the morning. You just
Oh,
have
did that.
grapefruits.
Did that. You know, if you ever read
Mm.
Janine Roth thing, she's so funny. She's like, "Oh, I've done the grapefruit and cigarette diet." You know, she did a breatharian diet once because it's like
Scary.
it's so funny. I mean, because again, I read all the books.
Yeah.
I've been an
Yeah.
Overeaters Anonymous for
Mm.
20 plus years, guys.
Wow.
Like, it's not the first thing I've tried, and it's not the first thing that any of my patients have tried. Nobody finds me by accident. They find me
Mm.
because it's like coming home. Because somebody's not going to yell at them. They're not going to say you're a failure because
Hmm.
I actually say, listen, all right, let's just take care of this problem. And now let's
Hmm.
see where we can go because that's exciting.
What happens after they lose the weight? I want to ask you so many questions because I'm like, isn't the not getting a message from your stomach to your brain that you're full? Isn't that a real thing? And I have so many medical based questions of like how much of this is a play or is food addictive now and that's why it's so hard to put down. I mean, people don't tend to overeat what was available 100 years
I'm
ago.
not
Is that
overeating broccoli. Hate to tell you, it's not
yeah,
happening.
true. Like there's so many things I want to ask you about this, but I know that we're already over. But okay,
Ask away.
what what changes for these people after you help them? So someone comes in. Let me take a step back. First, I want to point out what you said is by the time they get to you, they've already tried so many things.
Yeah.
It's not a lack of trying. It is not a lack of committing to something different. I mean, I saw this in my own family. I saw them try and try and try, and it was heartbreaking to watch these people that I love try so many things. Try in private. By the way, they tried in private because they don't want anyone to know that they're trying to diet or they're trying something different. I had a family member.
Sounds familiar, right?
I had a family member hide that they had a weight loss surgery, and it broke my heart for them because this is a confident, brilliant person, and they felt like this was necessary. And I've had friends that have done the same thing, and it broke my heart that they felt like it was necessary. I don't judge them for it, but by the time they've got to you, they've tried 10 things, 100 things probably.
Yeah.
What do you see changes afterwards? So they go on, they're presumably they're going to GLP-1, they're getting some coaching from you, either one-on-one or watching your videos. What changes? Because there's something that changes that they weren't expecting to change.
So I find that it goes one way or the other. Some people have a really hard time accepting that this is the real them. They can't get rid of their fat clothes. They're afraid to go back. A lot of these people
Mhm.
come to me after they've had bariatric surgery and God forbid had all the weight regain. I mean, again, and it doesn't always happen. In my obesity medicine board certification, I actually was exposed to the benefits of bariatric surgery. Because in emergency medicine, what did I see? All the scary shit that can go wrong.
Sure.
But in the obesity medicine board certification material, and I had some of the best lectures going,
Hmm.
I actually learned the other side. So that was really cool.
Hmm.
But then they come back to me after weight gain, or if they didn't have weight gain, and it's starting to creep and they're getting scared.
Hmm.
And because we all know where this goes, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
we've seen it. Like you said, you've seen it in your family. We know where this goes.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And so one of two things happens. Some people have a really hard time with, I'm going to be very controversial here. And I'm just going to say it. I'm
I'm
going to
here
be
for it.
because this is me. So they show up and they're like, I can't believe the world treated me so poorly when I was fat.
Mm.
And then I challenge you, if you feel that I get it, there's a weight stigma out there, but almost the same way we talked about self-selecting versus other people first. You are treating yourself so much more poorly than anyone else thinks of you. And what that means is you show up in the world differently because you know how many diets you failed. You know that you had to give up and use the medication. And that's the
Mm.
way you're treating yourself. And that's how you're showing up in the world. I challenge you that I don't care if you're on a weight loss journey, I don't care. I challenge you to show up in the world and own your freaking goals, own your
Mm.
standards. I don't care what they are. But that's that failure in private versus showing up in public. Because guess what? Someone's going to not like it.
So I want to make sure I'm tracking here, make sure whoever's listening is tracking. So are you saying that is it that they were getting treated differently because they were overweight and society treats overweight people differently? You walk up to a counter and someone's interacting with you differently, or is it because they were showing up not just physically 50 pounds heavier, but they're showing up in the world differently and people are perceiving them differently?
I think it's both. Much like
Okay.
burnout, right? Burnout is a systemic issue and it's an internal issue.
Okay.
I think it's both. And I think once, because I'm not going to solve the fact that, well, I don't, when I was 50 pounds heavier, everyone told me, you look fine. I'm like, I don't care. I don't feel good. I feel,
Hmm.
because I knew the behaviors that were creating this.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
like you said, it's about health, but it's also about mental health. And we do not give that its credit.
Hmm.
Because when you wake up and you tell yourself in the morning, I'm not going to eat this way, and you go to bed having stuffed yourself because that's the only thing that quells everything. It calms the nerve endings, it's the brain, it's the whole thing, right?
Hmm.
Or, I mean, even so, even innocuous. And I did this as recently as last week. I overate because you can overeat the drug, right?
Hmm.
It's not a magic pill, magic shot, as
Sure.
it were.
Hmm.
Um, and I've learned to overeat it the same way people with bariatric surgery learn to overeat it. So you still got to do the
Hmm.
work, right? This is
Yeah.
this again, this is the real world in GLP-1s. That's why I'm opening up my one-to-one spots because there are people who
Hmm.
want these. They want the deep discussions. Individually, they're not willing to go public yet. They
Hmm.
need to hear this from me. And I'm like, no, I gotta get it out there. So, but I think it's twofold. I think when people lose the weight, some of us are like, holy shit, this is the me that's always been in there.
Wow.
And because that's what I feel like. Because people ask me, do you have body dysmorphic disorder? I'm like, hell no. I'm like, nope, I am rocking it.
I
The
look in the
boots
mirror
are
and I'm like,
amazing,
you look good today. You look good out there.
right?
Yeah.
And I know I'm not perfect. Like, I don't
Mhm.
care about, like, I just finally feel like the outside is the expression of
Mm,
me. And that's a gift.
yeah.
And I don't have to think about it, right? Yeah, I had an episode with ice cream last week.
Hmm.
And it's never on vacation. It's always in private. Funny that, right?
Hmm.
And, did I berate myself? No, I was kind of mad because I disrupted a night's sleep. But I don't berate myself. Number one, I know the solution. I'm
Hmm.
going to make mistakes just like entrepreneurship. Oh, look,
Hmm.
that didn't work. What are we going to do tomorrow so that doesn't happen? Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, I'm going to come back to this is why you're the perfect messenger for this. Is because you're visible about like, yeah, last week me and ice cream had a fling. It was real bad. Mistakes were made. I regretted it in the morning and I'm back on the wagon now.
Ready to
Like
chew my arm off in the morning, man.
exactly. But that's why you were the perfect messenger is because you're not doing it perfectly. I love this because especially what I'm finding is especially even just in the audience and the clients that I work with, these people are high performers.
Mhm,
But what I'm finding is people that are high performers in business. So my client base tends to be business owners with families,
mhm,
married with families. So what that means is they've got a lot of plates that they're spinning.
mhm,
And when the going gets tough, almost always the plate that gets put down is them. So some form of their mental health, their physical health, etc. So it's not uncommon for us to be walking around 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier than we need to. Necessarily battling obesity, but well, these 20 pounds, they're pretty stubborn, but it's because I keep skipping lunch and I keep door dashing it. Like I'm there too. Like that absolutely the more stressful my family life is. For many of my clients, it's business and family. For me, it's totally my family. If my family's struggling, my weight goes up because I eat too common. When things are stressful, I'm like, I'm going to bake cakes last night. I'm going to make banana bread 2 nights ago. I'm going to order in pizza, and we're going to have a movie night. Like that's where I tend to go. So I think the struggle there is that they're like, but I'm successful in these other areas. Why can't I lose these 30 pounds?
why
I'm
can't I?
successful.
That's the most painful statement right there.
Hmm,
Why can't I fix this? I could cry
yeah.
thinking about it walking into my doctor's office. Why
Mm,
can't I fix this myself?
yeah. Especially you're a well-resourced, smart person. You're a problem solver for a living. Why can't you solve this problem?
I'm a doctor. I'm a sports nutritionist. I held an athletic trainer certification for 26 years. I was a triathlon coach for 10, in two different organizations.
Hmm.
I mean, I have more knowledge. I'm now obesity medicine board certified, lifestyle medicine board eligible. Like,
Hmm.
knowledge is obviously not the problem.
Sure, sure. That's key right there. Knowledge is not the problem. I've shown up to meet with dietitians many a times and they are overweight. And I
Mhm.
think first talk about like imposter syndrome they must battle,
Oh,
but
God.
there
Right?
is not a lack of knowledge. This person does not have a lack of knowledge. So there is something again, just like we were talking with the entrepreneurism, you get to a point and then there's a little bit of just magic, the space between. It's sounding to me like what you're saying is these types of solutions, these GLP-1, this type of solution is what bridges that magical gap. I don't know, I'm sticking with the magic theme, this
Right.
magical gap that you're like, I just can't seem to make that last little step. And this is the tool that helps so many people take that step.
I agree 100%. It is okay, pause for 1 second. We'll edit this out. Hi, Matthew. I am. No, it's okay. Come on in.
We're doing it. Yeah, I just think that there are people that feel like maybe the solutions out there that aren't for them, and this is a potential solution for that. I mean, I just keep that's what, and I was curious your thoughts on it because I keep looking at this and going, is this the solution that we've been looking for? Like you're always hesitant to say that. Anything that sounds like a panacea, you're like, oh, those are supposed to be red flags, and no, it can't, and there's going to be a downside. But I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it doesn't seem to be dropping.
I don't think it's dropping.
Mm,
There are people who cannot and absolutely should not take this medication.
sure.
Out of the 6,600 people we've treated, we've had 5 cases of pancreatitis.
Mm, okay.
And every one of them have had a history that we knew or didn't know about of heavy alcohol use. So
Mm,
it's a
okay.
confounder. And I
Okay.
still, again, risk benefit because
Sure.
if it calms down their alcohol use, because again, not everybody who drinks heavily gets pancreatitis. So is it
Yep.
worth it?
Yep.
So we
I had
haven't
a
had,
family member get pancreatitis and she wasn't on a GLP-1. So,
right, exactly.
it
So
happens.
yeah, and that's exactly it. Obviously people trying to get pregnant should never take a GLP-1. That there's some argument in there with
Hmm.
fertility issues with obesity. Now that's a different
Sure.
story, well beyond the scope of this podcast and or my
Sure.
special. I will punt you to somebody else, but I'll always give people my opinion. Um, but I really think what this medication does is because our society, we opened up Pandora's box, right? We processed food to make sure it was available to solve for starvation
Hmm.
post World War II.
Hmm.
And just because just because we can doesn't mean we should. Now, we did, which is great.
Hmm.
Now we have we have shelf-stable foods. We have a lot of really good things that came out of it.
Hmm.
Everything good comes out of war, but it comes with a price. So this is what I see as the antidote. I call it the Viktor Frankl space. It is the space between stimulus and response.
Yes.
Am I not going to eat ice cream? No. But am I going to eat the whole half gallon of ice cream? Probably not.
Hmm.
I say probably not because sometimes it happens.
Hmm.
Um, but again, what does that depend on? It depends on my emotional fitness, my emotional stability, how well I've managed. I mean, this book, it doesn't have a cover on it because it's this one that sits behind me to remind me. It's Buy Back Your Time. This is my workbook copy. This is the one I mark up. This is the one I write in. This is the one that I use all the time. If
Hmm.
I have not worked from your entrepreneurship standpoint, your listener base, if I have not worked to buy back my time, that's not just buying back my time, it's buying back my energy. If my energy gets depleted, what do I turn toward? Anger, frustration, food. There are a lot of other, I actually went there on my YouTube video today. We go after affairs, we go watch porn, we
Mm.
smoke, we vape, we drink. I mean, let's call it out here, people. Let's stop
Yeah.
bullshitting ourselves because when we rip that open, sunlight sanitizes. And
Mm.
all those things that you don't want to tell people you do, that's what needs to go. And if you're not buying back your time and buying back your energy,
Yeah.
you're never going to win against these things, even on a GLP-1. You will overeat it. You will learn to overeat it.
Hmm.
But again,
Yeah.
people don't want to hear that. Can I just have the med and be done with it? This is really a weight problem. This is a weight problem.
Well, the good thing about people that listen to Pivot Me is they're ready to hear it. Like they come here to get the truth. They come here to get the like, all right, because I love that you said internal and external locus of control. Like that's one of the things we talk about is internal locus of, don't tell me it's the economy. Don't tell me it's your employees or your partners or your childhood. First, the truth is it is all of those. And still, yes, all of those things. But what happens now? I don't care what happens. I care about what happened. I care about what happens next, because if the second you put the power or the control outside of you, you've lost. And
Yep.
so if you're showing up here, you want to fix things. You know that part of our job is to iterate ourselves. Like we're the most important project we'll ever work on,
Yep.
and this is a tool to you do that. This is, I mean, if you're someone who battles with this, it's, you heard it, it's not a lack of willpower, it's not a lack of discipline, it's not, why can't I fix this? You can ask that question until the end of your early death, right? You can keep asking that question and then just pull the median amount of how long
No,
you're going to live down,
get the
but let's not do
solution
that.
and keep asking the question. I don't care. Just fix it. It's
Yeah.
funny because I watched my husband's viewpoint of it completely go 180 as he watched my journey. And hopefully this will be of use to other people because in the beginning, he had the same opinion. Okay, you can stay on this temporarily, but I think you should, get yourself to a certain point and then get off
Mm.
because it's a medication and we all want to be medication free. Why is that? I don't really know that. I mean,
I
really,
know.
I want to be heart disease free, but that ain't going to happen because it's there. So I'm
Hmm.
going to manage that the best I can. And that's with two different medications. So
Sure.
technically three if you count the aspirin. But, when he watched, when he watched my life completely change, because no longer was I living a life run by food or addiction or preoccupation,
Mm.
he watched my world expand. And he turned around and saw it very differently. So
Mm.
instead of, oh, you should get off. because the one time we were folding laundry, I will never forget this. And he said, "So, how long are you going to take this medication?" And I looked at him. This is very early. And I said, "I don't know, but I'm not ready to go off yet. I'll be taking it Monday." And because that's all I knew. That's all I knew is that because you can tell if you're on a GLP-1, you know what day 6 and 7 feel like. Sometimes it feels like exactly what it did before, where you've got all this food noise, you've got a battle. Those are the days we either use as refeeds or, we work on, listen, you got to hit a hard breakfast that morning. You're eating 4 eggs. You're eating, whatever. I'm not saying eat eggs. This is not, but you know what I'm saying. You've got
Yeah.
to really plan
Yeah.
because those are the intentional days. But watching his opinion change
Mm-hmm.
from this is a crutch to, oh, this actually makes things a lot better. This counteracts the rewiring that 50 years, almost 50 years of processed food did to my
Mm-hmm.
brain. Now, Mark Hyman, for example, talks about the food system has to change. I don't disagree.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to change in my lifetime. And you know what the fastest way to make Doritos go out of business? Don't buy them.
Mm-hmm.
That's power. That's an internal locus of control. Do we
Yep.
take it? No.
Yep. I
No.
mean, it would be
Anyway.
great if everything changed. And that's important. But what
Right.
happens today? Like, what part can you influence today? I've
Correct.
I've heard him speak. I've spent time with him many times. And great. That would be nice. You're talking about a 10 to 50-year project.
Yeah.
What
I don't
what
have that kind
happens
of
today? Yeah. I love that. So I, I hate to near the end of this conversation because I feel like we could continue talking about entrepreneurism, about coaching, and yes, GLP-1. So we might have to have you come back on and we'll talk more about your
I
next
would
book.
love to. This has been
Yeah.
awesome.
This is amazing. I knew we'd get along. As soon as someone was like, "You've got to see her," and sent me one of your videos, I'm like, "Yep, I love her. I love her energy, all of the things." So we definitely will have you back on. But before I ask kind of our final question, where is the best place? We're going to put it in show notes too. Where is the best place for people to connect with you?
So if you want to be a patient, this is the easiest. We have a nice system finally. Go to
Mm-hmm.
amslifestylemedicine.com. The
Mm-hmm.
cool thing is we don't charge you when you walk through the door, just like a regular doctor's office. You pay on the way out. If you come in and you're like, I don't like the way you guys do this,
Mm-hmm.
decide to go somewhere else. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, if you're a physician or a high level professional that's like, oh no, I'm done. I want medical care. I want you to be my coach. I want the whole shebang. All that's at
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Mo coaching. So all the physician offerings, the high achieving professionals, the ones that would like to fail in private a little bit, that's the new one-on-one program. That
Mm-hmm.
actually starts July 1st.
Okay.
That's the one I finally caved because people keep asking.
Yes. Yeah.
So
We
yeah, just
talked
go to
about that.
drmocoaching.com.
Mm-hmm.
All my stuff is right there.
It's amazing. We're going to drop it in the show notes as well with the hyperlinks. So the last question we love to ask is, if you could say one thing to the world, you could grab the world by the collar and say one last thing, what would you say?
You're not broken. I just need people to hear you are not broken. You might have some broken circuits in your brain. You might have some pathologic behaviors. You might have done some things you actually do regret and wish you hadn't done, but it doesn't mean you're broken. And if you're hearing this, it means you have another chance today.
Oh, that was amazing. I can't imagine a person who doesn't need to hear that message. I just want to thank you both for your time. We doubled the hour. It was supposed to be 1 hour, guys. We're in 2 hours. We're probably gonna have to do this in 2 sessions. And we're still gonna have Dr. Mo back on. But I want to thank you both for what you've done for us today, but also just the way that you're showing up. Like you're showing up, frankly, I'm just going to say imperfect and messy. And you're giving everybody who watches your videos permission to do the same, whether they choose to flip on the phone and make a video themselves, or whether that's just the message that they carry throughout their day. Like the work that you do, so much more than what meets the eye. Like you're just giving people the permission to go after their life and their business and do it imperfectly, regardless of the way that they've been raised, the way that they've been trained, the education they've been given. You're saying, hey, I'm going after it, and it can be messy for me too. And I'm going to come on and share. I'm going to fail publicly, and I'm going to use that scar as a way to teach others. Hopefully, hey, I fell off the ropes and don't do this. And if you do, that's okay, because you can come back to my love and arms anytime. You're just doing really amazing work. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Powerful, right? Really powerful. Would love to know what your thoughts are on this video. Share with us what your favorite part was, maybe the part that you learned the most. Love to see it in the comment down below. And we set up the next video for you. So jump over to the next video and we'll level up together. Thanks.